What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to EP09. Alright, we just wrapped up the prejudging from the Arnold Classic South America, and I gotta say, a couple of things went the way I thought they would, but there was a couple of surprises here too. And the callouts were honestly just kinda weird. Some of them didn't make any sense to me at the time from where I was sitting. I'll explain that a little bit more later in this video. Oh, and all this footage is actually courtesy of the Muscle Contest International YouTube channel. So the first callout had who I figured would be in that top 5, including Wellington Naskow, Joseph Ketten, Vitor Boff, Amir Omaragic, and of course, Behrooz Tabani. Now, one surprise in this lineup for me was actually the addition of Gustavo Biko, who just won his pro card yesterday at the Arnold Classic, and decided to return to try and earn his qualification to the Olympia. We'll talk about Biko again more in a minute, but first off, we'll look at some of these guys in the first callout. And like I said, it was to be expected. Behrooz Tabani looked just as good as he had leading up to the show. It was his show to lose, and he delivered here at prejudging. He was big, he was full, he was out muscling and out conditioning everyone else in the lineup, and I'd say he's walking away from prejudging with the win. His tan actually started to run pretty badly as time went on and he posed more and more. Now, do I think that that's going to take away from his victory? I don't think so, but it may have cost him in the abs and thigh shot, I think, in a callout with just him and Wellington. It was very distracting, but he wasn't the only one with an issue with his tan. But anyway, looking at Vitor Boff, who we all kind of expected to be the front runner for that second place spot, Vitor was noticeably off in this lineup. He lacked a lot of separation that we typically see from him. He didn't have much pop to the muscle that we've seen from him in the past too. Overall, I think he looked smooth and definitely not his best showing here. Now, Amir Omaragic, on the other hand, I think had a good showing overall. He looked like he was big, full, separated. His conditioning was good. He had great detail from the back, and with more time in training, he'll most likely make his way to the Olympia. Maybe in a smaller show this year, he might even make it this year. Now, Joseph is someone I had in that conversation for the top 4 or top 5, but I think he looked a tad sharper overall leading up to the show. He looked good, but I think he lacked separation in the legs, even though I think the quad sweep was better than what I thought it would be, but his tan was a big issue too. He was just pouring out water, and it was really distracting, and his physique just isn't up to par in order to really look past that in some of the shots, I think the front shots especially. But the biggest surprise in this lineup for me was Gustavo Biko. Considering he just won his pro card yesterday, I mean, man, this guy not only held his own in this lineup, but I think there's an argument for him actually beating Vitor Boff in this lineup. His proportions really came through. He's conditioned, he's got enough size to hang with these guys, he's got the small waist, the detail in the quads was really good, so he could be in that conversation for, like I said, beating Vitor Boff, and I think Joseph as well. Very, very impressive showing from Biko. Now, looking at Wellington was actually one guy I didn't think was going to be in the mix as much as he was, but after a couple of other callouts where I think the judges were looking for that maybe 2nd to 5th place, Behrooz and Wellington had their own callout at the end, and Wellington really held his own standing next to Behrooz. During our podcast we did previewing the Arnold Classic Brazil over there on Josh Sanchez's channel, Bodybuilding News Network, with Josh and actually Mark at Mark's Max Muscle, I commented on the amount of detail Wellington had in the quads from the front, and it really showed through here when he stood next to Behrooz. I still think Behrooz took the side and front shots pretty decisively, but the detail from the back that Wellington has, his proportions really came through standing next to Behrooz. Overall, that callout with just Wellington and Behrooz tells me that this is your top 2. And it's a good thing they did that last callout, because otherwise, based on what we saw earlier from callouts, I really would have had less of an idea of what was happening. And that's what I was saying earlier. The callouts were really just kind of weird. I mean, they certainly weren't typical of what we've seen from other bodybuilding competitions. I mean, the first callout was 7 guys total, and there was only 12 in this lineup. The second callout was the remaining 5 competitors, but then they had a callout with just 3 guys, including Vitor Boff and Gustavo Biko. Then another callout with Amir, Joseph, Vitor, and Biko. Oh man, Vitor really had his work cut out for him. They really worked him in this lineup. And then your final callout was just Behrooz and Wellington. So it's good that there was a lot of comparisons done here, because it's often a complaint that not enough comparisons happen in a lot of shows. And like I said, up until that last callout, it was hard to tell what the judges were thinking. But anyway, you guys, that's going to wrap it up for prejudging for the Men's Open at the Arnold Classic South America. And that's it for me in this video. We'll see you guys again at the finals. Thank you for tuning in to EP09. Be sure to like and subscribe.